This is Andy Piroir for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Rafael. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to Saturday's fight.
You just said it right there. Saturday's fight. Anthony Joshua makes his debut here in America. What are you expecting from the Brit on Saturday against Andy Ruiz Jr.?
Listen, I think what most people expect, a really good performance. Ruiz is a good fighter, but I think Joshua obviously is a class above. He's defending his titles. He wants to make a big splash in his first fight in the United States. He's a big puncher, good boxer, very experienced. And I'm not necessarily saying it's an easy fight, but it's a fight he should win and look good doing it.
On the back of Jarrell Miller's failed drugs tests, was Andy Ruiz Jr. the best possible opponent available to AJ in your opinion?
Well, look, the team went for Luis Ortiz, and that was a bold statement to seek him out on that notice about a month, and that would have been a really interesting fight, given his background, his history, his terrific fight with Wilder. But when he turned down the fight and they were going through the rest of the possibilities, I felt like Andy Ruiz absolutely, of the guys that were on that short list who were available, was definitely the best opponent that they could take. And people will say, well, he took the fight on short notice, but I agree with Team Ruiz about that. It really wasn't short notice because he had just trained a full camp to fight April 20th. Andy said he took like a week off and was right back in the camp. So he should be very fresh and ready to go for this fight, not worried about having any kind of layoff.
With some of the guys you just mentioned, Luis Ortiz, Adam Kownacki, rumoured to have been off of a fight. People were starting to think that maybe they might have been in some form of like a mid-cycle and they may have been on performance-enhancing drugs. Is that something that maybe you might have thought about or you might think would have been a possibility?
That Kownacki could have been a possibility?
Kownacki or Ortiz may have been in some form of taking some form of performance-enhancing drug.
I don't get involved in rumors and innuendo and that sort of thing. If they sign for the fight and they do the proper drug testing, that's good enough for me. Obviously, Ortiz has a history. He has failed previous drug tests in the past, but he's also had recent fights where he did test and no problem. So, I didn't look at it like that. The reason, in my belief and what my sources tell me, the reason that Ortiz and Kownacki declined the fight is because they're the two opponents for the next fights for Wilder. Obviously, Wilder, not that long after Ortiz turned down the fight, Wilder announced he's fighting him in a rematch this fall. And if you pay attention and you talk to the right people in the sport, it's pretty obvious that if he goes in with Ortiz and wins that fight, the next fight, which will be in the early part of next year, will be against Adam Kownacki. So they had those two fighters penciled in to do a Wilder fight. Kownacki's going to fight in August against Arreola, and if he wins, he's going to fight Wilder next, most likely early next year.
Was you surprised at all by the fact that so soon after Deontay Wilder's victory over Dominic Breazeale, he announced that he was going to have a rematch with Luis Ortiz?
Not at all, because all along we all sort of knew that when he did his 3-fight deal with PBC, when he turned down the Wilder fight and the Joshua fight and the offer from Top Rank and DAZN, that the reason was because the deal was basically do the mandatory against Dominic Breazeale, do the rematch with King Kong Ortiz, and then do a fight against Adam Kownacki. So then after he knocked Breazeale out at the post-fight press conference, one of his managers, Shelley Finkel, spoke about the possibility of Ortiz in a rematch. Ortiz was at the fight in the ring after the fight. So it comes as absolutely no surprise. The only thing that was a little bit surprising, frankly, was that Deontay took the opportunity to make the announcement on a Tuesday night on the week when Joshua was fighting.
When you know that Deontay talks about one face, one champion, etc., is that maybe not a surprise that he at least didn't return to the negotiating table just to see what else DAZN could have offered, or Eddie Hearn and Matt True?
Look, I think Wilder's just at a point where he, in his mind, felt like there was no real opportunity to make the fight, that whatever the discussions had been between himself, his team, and the Joshua camp, that he felt like it was not going anywhere. He's going to make a lot of money to fights against guys like Breazeale, who he knocked out easily, against Ortiz, and against possibly Kownacki, where he's going to make a tremendous amount of money, win those fights, and then go for the big one. It's about maximizing his money, and I guess that's his path to doing it. Now, my opinion would be do a fight with Joshua. You're going to make $40 or $50 million, and you're going to do a 2-fight deal anyway. So win or lose, there's going to be another huge payday after that. So give the fans what they want. But, I don't get emotional about it because I've been down this road with so many other fights that we've wanted to see, and I know how the game works and how the business goes. So, I'm not surprised. I figure it will happen if it's meant to be. If they keep on winning, we'll see it.
With what's considered to be the three main fighters in Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, all signed to different networks. How much of a sticking point do you see that being in trying to make those fights further down the line?
I think the Wilder versus Joshua fight is, I won't say an easier fight to make, but those situations are not going to prevent it, in my understanding, because if you talk to anybody on Team Wilder, they'll tell you that yes, they have an alliance with a broadcaster, but that they have abilities to do things on their own. They're not bound 100% exclusively under that deal. And even though Joshua is negotiating a multi-fight agreement with DAZN for his broadcast rights in the United States, this fight against Ruiz is a one-off, so he theoretically could go elsewhere. And I'm sure that he understands that this fight with Deontay Wilder is a huge fight, and that he's not going to go sign anything that is going to somehow corner him and not allow him to make that fight. So even though they have deals with broadcasters, I believe there's a way in those contracts to be able to make the fight. Now, Tyson Fury is a different story. He's exclusive to the ESPN platform, and his people and him have said they have no interest in doing a rematch with Deontay Wilder until at least the early part of next year. And they don't even really talk about doing a fight with Joshua. So, in my mind, as much as I'd like to see the rematch with Wilder, we've saw it once before. It was a hell of a fight. Maybe we'll see it in the future, but I'm not stuck on that one. Tyson Fury's going to do what he does. He's fighting Tom Schwartz on June 15th, and then we'll see what happens after that. But in the meantime, the fight that we most want to see is Joshua and Wilder.
What are your thoughts on the WBC ordering Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte as a final eliminator for Deontay Wilder's WBC world title, and the fact that Tyson Fury's come out now and said that he doesn't want to face Dillian Whyte?
The WBC is ordering a fight that they feel is best for their organization. It's obviously a good fight for boxing fans. Fury versus Whyte is probably one of the better heavyweight fights you can make, barring him fighting against Joshua or a rematch with Wilder. But just because an organization orders a fight does not mean that the fight's going to happen. That happens all the time, where they make orders of different mandatory eliminators and title fights, and the boxers who they order go in different directions. So, it's good that they ordered it, but it's probably not going to happen.
And what are your thoughts on Dillian Whyte himself? Obviously, everybody knows that it wasn't the actual mandatory, but knowing that he was number one for over 500 days now, what are your thoughts in regards to how he stands and his position in the heavyweight division?
I'm a big Dillian Whyte fan. I've written many times that I feel like he deserves a title opportunity. He's fought all the eliminators. He's beaten lots of good opponents, and he deserves a fight. He's got a good personality. He's exciting to watch. He's going to be competitive with anybody, win or lose. So I feel like he's probably the best heavyweight in the world that has not gotten a title chance, and he deserves it.
And we're just about to see the announcement of Joseph Parker signing with Matchroom and DAZN. What are your thoughts on this link-up?
Not a shock. I mean, Joseph Parker has fought on two of Matchroom's cards. Big fight with Joshua when they meant to unify the titles. Then the fight that came after that when he lost a hell of a fight to Dillian Whyte. And so Joe Parker and Eddie Hearn and Joe's team have gotten to know each other. They did good business together. Joe made a lot of money. Eddie is very deep in the heavyweight division. He has money to spend on these bigger fights. And so I think Joseph Parker, is still a quality heavyweight, and it's a good addition to the stable. And as Eddie has said, if he performs well under the 3-fight agreement that they have, maybe he can position himself for a rematch against Joshua. But there will definitely be fights out there for him, without question.
Rumours circulating over social media that Eric Molina will be his first fight. Is that a good first test for him, or do you think he should be fighting somebody of a better standing?
Well, Team Parker said that's the opponent they're fighting. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not like a huge mega fight. That's one of the reasons it will be on the undercard of the Demetrius Andrade event on June 29th. And so, it's a fight to get back in there with an experienced guy who's been in the ring with Joshua and with Deontay Wilder, and give yourself a go on a card. Not every fight's a super fight. So, would I like to see Joseph Parker step up in a bigger fight? Of course, but I don't have any problem with Eric Molina. Eric Molina's going to come to fight. He's an honest fighter. He's going to give a good effort, and, we'll see if Joe can score a win against, a decent name.
Well, damn, Rafael, I've kept you long enough, so thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Appreciate it.